Commander Zethkar stepped off the transport ship and felt the cold air hit his scales. The research station on Kepler-7 looked small against the dark sky. This was the edge of hegemony space, where new species sometimes appeared from the unknown regions beyond. Dr. Velnara waited for him at the landing pad. She was a thin scientist with nervous movements and quick eyes. "Commander, thank you for coming so quickly," she said, as they walked toward the main building. "Your report mentioned a new species," Zethkar replied. "Tell me what makes them special." They entered a bright room filled with screens and data displays. Velnara pulled up images of the creatures called humans. Zethkar studied them carefully. They looked weak compared to other species he knew. No thick armor like the Krillians, no sharp claws like the Veltari, no large brains like the Zephani. "They are smaller than most warrior species," Zethkar observed. "Their bodies seem fragile." "That's what puzzles me," Velnara said. She touched a control and more data appeared. "They should be easy to defeat in combat. But look at these readings from their training exercises." Zethkar watched video feeds from the human colony on the nearby moon. The humans moved differently than other species during their war games. They worked together in ways that seemed natural, like they had fought together for years instead of months. "See how they adapt?" Velnara pointed at the screen. "When their first plan fails, they change tactics instantly. Other species need time to think and plan. Humans just flow into new strategies." Zethkar frowned. "Perhaps they are more intelligent than they appear." "It's not just intelligence," the doctor said. "Watch this recording from yesterday. Watch this. Watch this recording from yesterday." The screen showed human soldiers in a mock battle against training robots. One human unit was surrounded and outnumbered 3-1. Instead of surrendering, they fought harder. Their movements became faster, more precise. They seemed to predict where the robots would attack, before the machines even moved. "How do they do that?" Zethkar asked. "I don't know," Velnara admitted. "Their brain scans show normal activity. No psychic abilities like the Zephani, but in combat, something changes in them, something I can't measure." Zethkar studied the data for hours. The humans had arrived in this sector 6 months ago. They built one small colony and sent peaceful messages to all nearby species. They followed galactic laws and caused no trouble. By all measures, they were a minor species that would join the hegemony or remain neutral. But the combat data troubled him. These humans fought like they enjoyed it. Not in the cruel way of the Syndicate pirates, but like they were built for war. Like they had been waiting their whole lives for a real fight. "Have they fought anyone yet?" he asked. "Only training exercises and some minor disputes with asteroid miners," Velnara said. "Nothing serious. But, Commander, there's something else." She showed him recordings of human children playing games. Even their young ones created complex battle scenarios and worked together with frightening efficiency. They played at war like other species played at hunting or gathering. "They think about conflict differently than we do," Velnara explained. "For most species, war is about resources or territory. For humans, it seems to be about proving something to themselves." Night fell over the research station. Zethkar stood at a window, looking toward the human colony. Lights flickered across the moon's surface where they had built their small settlement. They were so few, maybe 10,000 individuals. The hegemony had billions of citizens across hundreds of worlds. So why did these humans worry him? His communicator buzzed. The duty officer's voice crackled through the speaker. "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up multiple ships approaching the system." Zethkar's blood went cold. "What type of ships?" "Syndicate raiders, sir. A full fleet. 12 heavy cruisers, and at least 30 smaller vessels." The Crimson Syndicate was the worst pirate organization in this sector. They destroyed colonies for sport and sold survivors as slaves. The research station had shields and weapons, but not enough to stop a full raider fleet, Are they heading for us? Zethkar asked. No, sir. Their course will take them past us to the human colony first. Zethkar looked out at the peaceful lights on the moon. The humans had no military ships. Just a few small defense vessels. The raiders would destroy them in minutes. Send a warning to the humans, he ordered. Tell them to evacuate immediately. Already tried, sir. They acknowledge the message but say they're not leaving. What do you mean they're not leaving? The human commander said, and I quote, "This is our home now. We'll make our stand here." Zethkar stared at the moon. 10,000 humans against thousands of hardened pirates. It would be a massacre. But something in the human commander's words made his scales prickle with unease. Dr. Velnara joined him at the window. What do you think will happen? She asked quietly. The humans will die, Zethkar said. But even as he spoke the words, he wasn't sure he believed them. Something about these strange creatures suggested they might surprise everyone. The Syndicate fleet would arrive in 6 hours. Soon, he would learn what humans were really capable of. When their backs were against the wall, the Syndicate fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a pack of hungry beasts. Zethkar watched from the observation deck as 12 massive warships appeared on the scanner. Behind them came smaller vessels, fast attack craft designed to hunt down fleeing civilians. The humans still refused to evacuate, Dr. Velnara reported. Their defense fleet is moving to intercept. Zethkar looked at the tactical display. 3 human ships rose from the moon's surface. 3 small vessels against 42 pirate ships. It was not a battle. It was suicide. Another, 74-3. Foolish creatures, he muttered. They could have run and lived. The lead Syndicate ship, a massive dreadnought called Blood Reaper, broadcast on all frequencies. Captain Vextar's cruel laugh filled the station's bridge. Little humans, the pirate captain sneered. Your ships are toys. Surrender now, and we might let some of you live as slaves. The human response came from their lead ship, a small frigate barely 1/10 the size of the dreadnought. The voice was calm, almost friendly. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the human vessel Defiance. You are not welcome in our home system. Please leave, or we will remove you. Vextar laughed again. Remove us? You and what army, little insect? Just us, Chen replied simply. What happened next would haunt Zethkar for the rest of his life. The human ships did not charge straight at the enemy like he expected. Instead, they scattered in 3 different directions, moving in patterns that made no sense. The Syndicate fleet, expecting easy prey, rushed forward to surround and destroy them. But the humans were not where the pirates expected them to be. The first human ship, Defiance, had used the moon's gravity to slingshot around and come up behind the enemy formation. As the pirates realized their mistake, Chen's vessel opened fire on their engines, not their weapons. 3 Syndicate ships lost power and began drifting helplessly. Clever, Zethkar admitted. But it won't save them. Number 4. The second human ship, called Iron Will, had somehow hidden in the asteroid field near the moon. As Syndicate fighters swept past, hunting for it, the ship emerged and attacked not with weapons, but with mining charges. Explosions tore through the fighter squadron, destroying 8 ships in seconds. The third human vessel, Rising Phoenix, did something that defied all military logic. It flew straight at the Blood Reaper, the largest enemy ship. Every weapon on the dreadnought turned toward it, enough firepower to destroy a city. Zethkar watched in horror as the human ship took hit after hit. Its shields failed. Its armor burned away. The ship should have been destroyed, but somehow, it kept flying. What are they doing? Velnara whispered. Then Zethkar understood. The Rising Phoenix was not trying to survive. It was buying time for its companion ships to get into position. As the dreadnought focused all its weapons on the dying human vessel, defiance and iron will flanked it from both sides. The human commander's voice came over the radio, calm even as his ship burned around him. "This is Commander Rodriguez of Rising Phoenix. It has been an honor to serve with you all. Tell our families we held the line." The burning human ship slammed into the Blood Reaper's engine section. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire system. But the battle was not over. The remaining Syndicate ships, shocked by the loss of their flagship, tried to regroup. That was their second mistake. The humans had been studying their movements, learning their patterns. Even with only 2 ships left, they seemed to know exactly what the pirates would do next. Defiance and Iron Will worked together like dancers in a deadly ballet. When Syndicate ships moved left, the humans were already firing at where they would be, not where they were. When the pirates tried to retreat, the humans cut off their escape routes before they even started moving. How are they predicting enemy movements? Zethkar demanded. Velnara was studying her instruments frantically. "I don't know. Their brain activity is off the charts, but it's not psychic ability. It's like they're seeing patterns we can't detect." The battle lasted 2 hours. When it ended, 38 Syndicate ships were destroyed or disabled. Only 4 had escaped, and those were running at maximum speed back to hyperspace. The human ships, battered and barely functional, limped back to their moon. Zethkar stood in stunned silence. He had witnessed the impossible. 3 small ships had defeated a fleet that should have destroyed them easily. But it was not just about tactics or luck. During the worst moments of the battle, he had watched the human pilots push their ships beyond safe limits. They had pulled maneuvers that should have killed them from acceleration forces alone. They had made split-second decisions that required processing more information than any biological brain should handle. And most disturbing of all, they had seemed to enjoy it. In the final recordings from Rising Phoenix, before it rammed the dreadnought, he could hear the crew singing, not crying or screaming, but singing some old human war song as they flew to their deaths. "Dr. Velnara," he said quietly, "send a full report to Hegemony Command. Mark it as highest priority." "What should I tell them?" Zethkar looked out at the human colony, where lights were coming back on as the survivors celebrated their victory. "Tell them we may have found something more dangerous than the Syndicate." Dangerous? But they just saved their colony. They fought to protect their home. Yes, Zethkar agreed. That's what makes them dangerous. They don't fight for conquest or glory. They fight because they refuse to lose. And beings who refuse to lose. He paused, watching repair ships move between the damaged human vessels. Beings who refuse to lose eventually win everything. The Hegemony Council Chamber was a vast dome where representatives from 100 species gathered to discuss galactic affairs. Zethkar stood before them, feeling small despite his usual confidence. "You expect us to be concerned about one small battle?" Counselor Prime Kethra's voice echoed through the hall. "The Syndicate has been defeated by many species. This proves nothing." Kethra's long-seeing. Krost. ND. Kethra's long-seeing. "With respect, Counselor," Zethkar replied. "You did not witness what I saw. These humans fought in ways that defy our understanding of combat psychology." The council members made dismissive sounds. To them, humans were just another new species. The galaxy had seen thousands of them over the millennia. Most joined the hegemony peacefully. Some caused trouble and were eliminated. None had ever threatened the established order. But Admiral Kesra, the hegemony's greatest military leader, listened with interest. After the council session ended, she approached Zethkar privately. "Walk with me," she said, leading him through the corridors of the government complex. Kesra was ancient even by hegemony standards, her forearms marked with scars from countless battles. She had fought in 30 major wars and never lost a campaign. "Tell me more about these humans," she said once they were alone. Zethkar described everything he had seen. The tactical innovations, the impossible maneuvers, the way human crews had pushed beyond their physical limits. And the singing, he added. Kesra nodded slowly. I have been receiving similar reports from other border sectors. Human vessels performing beyond specifications. Human soldiers fighting with unusual intensity. She led him to a secure briefing room and activated privacy shields. 3 weeks ago, a hegemony patrol was attacked by raiders near the Vega system. A human merchant ship happened to be nearby. Instead of fleeing, they joined the fight. The admiral showed him battle recordings. Zethkar watched as the human cargo ship, armed only with mining lasers and improvised weapons, helped drive off attackers that should have destroyed both vessels. The human crew had no military training, Kesra explained. They were merchants and engineers, yet they fought with the skill of veterans. My patrol commander said it was like watching ordinary citizens transform into warriors. More reports followed. Human construction crews who had fought off alien predators with power tools. Human diplomats who had negotiated peace treaties in impossible situations by somehow understanding alien psychology better than the aliens themselves. What do you think it means? Zethkar asked. I think, Kesra said carefully, that we need to understand these creatures better before they become a problem. I am arranging joint military exercises. You will observe. The training facility on Hegemony Prime was massive, with environments that could simulate any type of battle condition. Zethkar watched as human soldiers arrived for the exercises, looking small next to their Hegemony counterparts. The Hegemony troops were impressive specimens. Enhanced muscles, reinforced bones, cybernetic implants that boosted their reflexes and strength. They had trained for decades and fought in real wars. The humans looked ordinary by comparison. Standard biological forms with no visible modifications. Their equipment was simpler, their formations looser. This should be instructive, General Kavor commented. He commanded the hegemony forces in the exercise. Perhaps witnessing superior soldiers will teach these humans their place. The first exercise was a simple combat simulation. 2 teams would fight for control of a fortified position. The hegemony team had every advantage: better weapons, superior physical abilities, and more experience. The battle lasted 6 minutes. When the simulation ended, the humans controlled the objective, and 3/4 of the hegemony team was marked as casualties. How did that happen? General Kavor demanded, studying the replay. Zethkar watched the recording carefully. The humans had not won through superior firepower or tactics. They had won by reading the hegemony soldiers like an open book. Every move the enhanced warriors made, the humans had anticipated. Every strategy, the humans had a counter ready before it was even implemented. Run it again, Kavor ordered. The second simulation lasted 4 minutes. The humans won even more decisively. Again, the third simulation was over in 2 minutes. This time, the humans had somehow predicted the hegemony attack before it even started, positioning themselves perfectly to ambush the enhanced soldiers. But the fourth exercise changed everything. Instead of a combat scenario, this was a survival situation. Dangerous alien creatures had been released in the training facility by accident. Not simulations. Real predators that had broken free from a research lab. The hegemony soldiers immediately began evacuation procedures. It was the logical response. The creatures were too dangerous to fight, and there was no reason to take unnecessary risks during a training exercise. The humans did not evacuate. Instead, they spread out through the facility and began hunting the creatures. Zethkar watched through security cameras as human soldiers stalked beasts that could tear apart armored vehicles. They moved with patience and precision, studying their prey, learning its weaknesses. They are not afraid, he whispered. Dr. Velnara, who had accompanied him to observe, checked her scanners. Look at their biological readings. Heart rate elevated but steady, adrenaline high but controlled. They are not panicking or going into shock. What are they doing then? They are problem-solving. To them, this is not a disaster. It is a puzzle to be solved. One by one, the humans eliminated the escaped creatures. Not through brute force or superior weapons, but through cunning and determination. They turned the facility's own systems against their prey, using maintenance tunnels and environmental controls as weapons. When the exercise ended, 8 alien predators were dead, and not a single human had been seriously injured. General Kavor stared at the results in disbelief. This should not be possible. They are an unenhanced biological species. They should not be able to outperform enhanced soldiers. Admiral Kesra watched the humans as they cleaned their equipment and prepared to return to their ships. They looked tired but satisfied, like workers finishing a difficult but rewarding job. "Commander Zethkar," she said quietly, "I want you to continue observing these humans. But do so very carefully." "Why carefully, Admiral?" Kesra's expression was troubled. "Because I think we may have found a species that does not just adapt to challenges. I think they evolve, in real time. And if that is true, then the galaxy may not be big enough for both us and them." As the humans departed, Zethkar noticed something disturbing. During the most intense moments of the creature hunt, some of the human soldiers had seemed to glow with a faint inner light. Not visibly, but his enhanced vision had detected energy patterns that made no scientific sense. Whatever these humans were becoming, it was happening faster than anyone had imagined. The emergency signals came from every corner of the galaxy at once. Ancient warning beacons that had been silent for 10,000 years suddenly screamed their alerts across space. The Devourers had returned. Zethkar stood in the Hegemony war room, watching as entire star systems went dark on the galactic map. The machine intelligence that had once threatened all organic life was consuming planets again, turning matter into more ships for their endless fleet. "How many systems have we lost?" Admiral Kesra asked. 17 in the first wave, came the reply, including Xandar Prime and the Veltari homeworld. Billions of lives, snuffed out in hours. The Devourers did not conquer or occupy. They simply consumed everything, growing stronger with each world they destroyed. "All species are mobilizing," the communications officer reported. "The Krillians, the Zephani, even the Syndicate remnants. Everyone understands the threat." "What about the humans?" Zethkar found himself asking. "They have agreed to join the Alliance. Their entire fleet is en route to the staging area." The Hegemony's main battle fleet was the largest military force ever assembled. Ships from hundreds of worlds and dozens of species, all united against the machine threat. When Zethkar arrived at the staging area, he was amazed by the scale of it. But he was more interested in the human ships. Their fleet had grown since the Syndicate battle. Where they once had a few small vessels, they now commanded dozens of warships. But that was not what caught his attention. The human ships looked different, sleeker, more advanced, as if they had been redesigned by engineers who understood principles that had taken other species centuries to discover. In the months since the joint exercises, human technology had somehow leaped forward by decades. "How did they advance so quickly?" he asked Dr. Velnara, who was studying the human vessels from their observation ship. "I don't know," she admitted. "According to our intelligence, they have been reverse engineering technology from every battle they fight. But this is more than that. They are innovating, creating new designs that we have never seen before." A message came through from the human fleet commander. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. We are ready to begin operations." Zethkar recognized the voice. It was Sarah Chen, the same commander who had faced down the Syndicate fleet months ago. But something in her tone had changed. She sounded more confident, more focused, as if the pressure of galactic war had sharpened her into a perfect weapon. The first engagement came at the Rigel system, where a Devourer scouting force was consuming the outer planets. The Allied fleet dropped out of hyperspace, expecting a hard fight against superior numbers. Instead, they found the human ships had arrived first and were already engaged. Zethkar watched in amazement as the Terran vessels moved through space with impossible precision. They seemed to dance between enemy fire. Their movements so smooth and coordinated that they looked like a single organism, rather than separate ships. How are they doing that? Admiral Kesra demanded from her flagship. The humans were not just fighting the Devourers. They were hunting them. Each human ship seemed to know exactly where every enemy vessel would move before the machines even decided to move there. They fired at empty space. And seconds later, Devourer ships flew directly into the shots. But it was more than tactics. As the battle intensified, something strange began happening to the human crews. Zethkar's sensors detected energy patterns that made no sense. The humans were glowing again, that same inner light he had seen during the training exercises, but much brighter now. Their biological signs are off the scale, Dr. Velnara reported. Heart rates, brain activity, cellular regeneration. Everything is increasing beyond normal limits. Are they dying? No, they are getting stronger. A human fighter pilot's voice came over the battle communications, clear and calm despite being surrounded by enemy fire. Target Vector 77 Alpha. I can see their next 3 moves. Initiating counter-pattern Delta. The pilot was predicting enemy actions 3 steps ahead, as if he could see the future itself. More battles followed. Each engagement showed human forces performing beyond what should be possible. Their ships pulled maneuvers that should have crushed their crews from acceleration forces. Their weapons hit targets at impossible ranges. Their tactics evolved in real time, adapting to new enemy strategies within minutes. And always, that strange energy pattern grew stronger. After the victory at Rigel, Zethkar met with Admiral Chen aboard her flagship. The human commander looked tired, but determined. Her eyes bright with an intensity that had not been there before. "Admiral," he said, "my species has fought wars for millions of years. We have never seen anything like what your people are doing out there." Chen smiled, and for a moment he saw something inhuman in her expression. Not cruel or evil, but beyond normal biological limits. "We are learning, Commander. Every battle teaches us something new about ourselves." "What are you learning?" "That we are capable of more than we ever imagined," she replied. "When we are pushed to our limits, we do not break. We transcend them." The conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. Long-range sensors had detected the main Devourer fleet, a force so massive it blocked out entire star fields. Thousands upon thousands of machine ships, all converging on the galactic core where the remaining organic species had their greatest populations. "How do we fight something like that?" Zethkar asked. Chen looked out at the sea of stars, her expression distant. "We become something they cannot understand or predict, something that evolves faster than they can adapt." As she spoke, Zethkar noticed that the lighting in the room seemed brighter, though no additional sources had been activated. The glow was coming from Chen herself, a subtle radiance that made her appear larger than life. "Admiral," he said carefully, "what are you becoming?" She turned to look at him, and for a moment her eyes seemed to hold the light of distant stars. "We are becoming what we need to be to protect our galaxy. The question is not what we are becoming, Commander. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy is ready for what we must become." The final battle was approaching. The Devourers had found the source of their ancient power, a massive construct at the galaxy's edge that had been building their forces for eons. If the Allied fleets could not stop them there, organic life would end. But watching the human ships prepare for the assault, Zethkar began to believe that the Devourers might have made a critical error. They had assumed they were facing the same weak organic species they had encountered before. They had not counted on humanity's ability to become something entirely new when survival was at stake. The humans were no longer just fighting to win battles. They were evolving into something that could fight gods. The Devourer construct was larger than a moon. Ancient beyond measure, it floated at the edge of the galaxy like a metallic cancer, consuming dark matter and cosmic dust to build an endless army of machine ships. Around it, thousands of Devourer vessels waited in perfect formations. Zethkar stood on the bridge of the Hegemony flagship, watching as the greatest fleet in galactic history prepared for the final battle. Every species had sent their best ships and warriors. This would decide the fate of all organic life. Enemy contacts number in the hundreds of thousands, the tactical officer reported. They have been building this force for 10 millennia. Admiral Kesra studied the displays with grim determination. All Allied fleets, prepare for assault. We must reach the construct's core before their reinforcements arrive. The battle began with a charge that shook space itself. Thousands of ships, from dozens of species, rushed toward the Devourer fleet. Weapons blazing. The ancient Krillian dreadnoughts, the swift Veltari attack ships, the massive Zephani carriers, all of them fighting together as they never had before. For the first hour, it seemed they might actually win. Then the true scale of the enemy became clear. For every Devourer ship they destroyed, 2 more emerged from the construct. The machines were not just defending their stronghold. They were using the battle itself as raw material, consuming destroyed vessels and rebuilding them as new enemies. We cannot sustain these losses, Kesra said, as entire fleets were consumed. If this continues, we will all be destroyed. Ancient species that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years made their final stands. The Krillian home fleet, their chitinous armor glowing with ancestral power, fought until the last ship was consumed. The Veltari, masters of speed and grace, danced their final battle among the stars before darkness took them. One by one, the Allied forces fell back or were destroyed. Only the core Hegemony fleet remained, and they too were being overwhelmed. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge, but it sounded different now. Deeper, more resonant, as if it carried the weight of stars themselves. "All Allied forces, fall back to safe distance. We are taking point." "Admiral Chen," Kesra replied, "your fleet cannot face this alone. We must retreat and regroup." "There is no time to regroup," Chen said calmly. "This ends now, or we all die. Trust us." Zethkar watched as the human ships moved forward, passing the retreating Allied vessels. There were perhaps 100 human ships against hundreds of thousands of Devourers. It was insanity. But as the human fleet advanced, something extraordinary began to happen. The ships started to glow. Not their engines or weapons, but the vessels themselves, as if lit from within by some impossible energy source. The glow grew brighter as they approached the enemy, until the human ships blazed like newborn stars. "What are the readings?" Zethkar asked Dr. Velnara. The scientist stared at her instruments in disbelief. "I cannot get accurate readings. The energy output is beyond our ability to measure. It is as if the laws of physics are changing around them." The first human ship reached the Devourer fleet, and what followed defied everything Zethkar thought he knew about warfare. The human vessel did not fire weapons or launch fighters. Instead, it simply moved through the enemy formation, and Devourer ships began shutting down. Not destroyed. Converted. The machine ships suddenly turned and began firing on their own fleet. "How are they doing that?" Kesra demanded. More human ships entered the battle, and the impossible became routine. They moved through space as if distance meant nothing to them, appearing where they were needed most. Their weapons struck targets light years away with perfect accuracy. They seemed to exist in multiple places at once. But most incredible of all was what happened to the human crews. Through intercepted communications, Zethkar heard their voices. They spoke with perfect coordination, as if thousands of individual minds had become parts of a single consciousness. They predicted enemy movements, not seconds but minutes in advance. They fought with an intensity that made their ships burn with literal fire. "Admiral Chen," he called over the communications, "what is happening to your people?" Chen's reply came from everywhere at once, as if she was speaking from inside his own mind. "We are becoming what we were always meant to be, Commander. The galaxy has pushed us to evolve, and we have answered." The battle turned into something beyond war. It became evolution in action. Human ships began absorbing Devourer technology, not through salvage but through some process that consumed enemy vessels and instantly integrated their capabilities. In minutes, human technology advanced by centuries. Individual human pilots performed maneuvers that bent space around them. Their consciousness seemed to expand beyond their physical bodies, allowing them to control multiple ships simultaneously. They fought with the fury of dying stars and the precision of orbital mechanics. The Devourer construct, sensing its forces being overwhelmed, began to change tactics. It opened dimensional portals, calling reinforcements from across the universe. The battle expanded into higher dimensions, fought on levels of reality that organic minds could not comprehend. But humanity adapted even to this. Human consciousness itself began to transcend normal limitations. Zethkar watched in awe as Admiral Chen appeared on his bridge, not through teleportation but through some form of existence that allowed her to be present wherever she was needed. She looked the same, yet completely transformed. Her eyes held the light of galaxies. Her presence radiated power that made reality itself more stable around her. "The construct is preparing its final gambit," she said, her voice carrying harmonics from dimensions beyond space. "It will try to consume the entire galaxy to fuel one last expansion. We cannot allow this." "What do you need us to do?" Kesra asked. "Survive," Chen replied simply. "Bear witness to what comes next. Tell future generations what you saw here." The human fleet converged on the construct in a formation that hurt to look at directly. They moved in patterns that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously, their ships weaving through space-time itself. When they reached the ancient machine, something happened that would be remembered as long as consciousness existed in the galaxy. The humans did not destroy the construct. They absorbed it. Not its technology or materials, but its very essence. 10,000 years of accumulated machine evolution, all the knowledge and power the Devourers had gathered, flowed into human consciousness like water into an infinite ocean. The transformation was complete. Humanity had not just defeated their enemies, they had transcended the very concept of limitation itself. When the light faded, the construct was gone. The Devourer fleet had simply ceased to exist. In their place, a new fleet hung in space, human ships that glowed with the power of creation itself. Admiral Chen appeared one final time on the Hegemony flagship. She smiled at Zethkar with infinite compassion and terrible power. "The galaxy is safe now," she said. "We will guard it from threats that have not yet been imagined. We will explore regions of existence that have no names. We will become whatever we need to become to protect all life." "What about the rest of us?" Zethkar asked. "What happens to the other species?" "You continue as you always have," Chen replied. "You grow, you learn, you reach for the stars. And when you are ready, when you have pushed yourselves as far as you can go, you will find us waiting to help you take the next step." She began to fade, her form becoming one with the starlight itself. "The age of limitation is ending, Commander. The age of infinite possibility begins now." Zethkar stood alone on the bridge, staring out at the transformed human fleet. They had become something beyond gods, beyond any concept his species had ever imagined. He began composing his final report, knowing that no one who had not witnessed it would truly believe what had happened. Personal log, Commander Zethkar. Final entry. I came to study a new species, and instead witnessed the birth of transcendence itself. Humanity has not conquered the galaxy through force or politics. They have simply become something that the galaxy cannot exist without. The stars themselves sing differently now, as if the universe is celebrating. We are all living in the age of humanity, whether we understand it or not. And perhaps that is the most human thing of all. They have saved us all, and asked for nothing in return except the chance to become what they were always meant to be. He closed the log and looked out at the infinite stars, knowing that somewhere among them, humanity was already reaching toward even greater mysteries, growing and evolving toward futures that had no limits at all.